A $600 drone just outsmarted a $3 million missile, and in less than 5 minutes, it turned Russia's biggest power play into a flaming crater on the Nipro River. What looked like Moscow's unstoppable show of strength was actually a ticking time bomb, and the people who set the trap, they were miles away, watching quietly, waiting for a single button to end an entire strategy. Russia thought size meant safety, but they were about to learn that in modern war, the cheapest weapon can deliver the most expensive defeat. 2:15 a.m., deep in Russian-occupied territory, a 5-mile metal serpent creeps across a bridge, nearly 300 armored trucks stretching into the darkness, carrying enough ammunition to feed 10,000 soldiers who are running dangerously low on everything that keeps a war alive. To Moscow, this convoy isn't just logistics, it's leverage, a bargaining chip for high-stakes peace negotiations looming in Washington. Show the world a force so massive, so well defended, that Ukraine has no choice but to compromise. And on paper, it looks bulletproof. Mobile Pantsir S-1 anti-air systems are scattered throughout the column, forming a protective dome. The powerful Nebo-M radar sweeps the sky, capable of tracking a baseball at impossible distances. Every soldier on that bridge believes nothing can get near them without being seen, tracked, and destroyed. Victory feels guaranteed, but they're staring into the night sky, while the real threat is clinging silently beneath their boots, wrapped around cold steel like forgotten maintenance equipment. Tiny, sleeping machines are waiting for the moment Russia makes its biggest mistake, because the convoy isn't crossing a bridge. It's rolling into a trap designed by artificial intelligence, a trap where stealth doesn't come from the clouds, but from the shadows below. And the moment those trucks slow down, the moment the Russians let their guard down, everything they think they control is going to collapse. Beneath the bridge, where darkness hides every secret, 12 small machines are pressed tightly against the frozen steel. They don't hum, they don't blink, they don't move. For 72 hours, they've remained perfectly still, pretending to be rusted bolts and forgotten tools. Each one costs less than a cheap smartphone, but together, they hold the power to erase a military force worth hundreds of millions. These aren't typical drones controlled by someone with a joystick. They don't wait for a radio signal that Russia can jam. They don't rely on GPS that can be scrambled by a tap of a button. Their guidance system is far more terrifying. They have been studying the bridge itself, its shape, its vibrations, its beams, turning the entire structure into their navigation map. When they launch, they won't need directions. They will know exactly where to go, like heat-seeking phantoms locked on their prey. And all they're waiting for is a single, silent command. Meanwhile, above them, the convoy grinds forward, heavy vehicles clanking and rattling over the steel plates. Every rotation of every worn-out Russian tire brings them closer to disaster. Because Ukraine's AI is betting on one weakness: Russian cost-cutting. The convoy's cheap tires can't handle a long-distance push under maximum load. One by one, they begin to fail. Pressure builds, engines slow. The entire metal serpent starts to coil right in the middle of the kill zone, exactly where those sleeping drones have been waiting. Miles away, in a hidden room glowing with thermometers, a Ukrainian operator watches it all unfold. The moment looks perfect. This is the point where history flips. He presses a single key. A pulse of encrypted data leaps through the air. Under the bridge, 12 sets of green indicators flicker to life. Each drone awakens like a predator opening its eyes. The trap is armed, and the ghosts are ready to hunt. 03:47 a.m. The drones break free, a 1-second drop toward the dark water before their motors spin up, silently catching their fall just feet above the river's surface. They glide forward, hugging the shadows cast by the massive concrete pillars. Not a single Russian radar system detects them. Not a single soldier hears them. Everything is going perfectly. But war never cooperates perfectly. Inside a cramped Pantsir command truck above, a bored junior lieutenant stares at his screen. He's been awake too long, watching nothing happen, convinced this night will end like every other, in silence and frustration. Then he sees it. Not a clean radar lock, not a threat, just a flicker, a tiny burst of interference that should mean absolutely nothing. 99 times out of 100, a soldier ignores that flicker, but tonight, instinct wins. He overrides system protocols. He switches from passive scanning to an aggressive active pulse, a focused radar beam slicing into the darkness beneath the bridge. A single dot flashes bright on his display. Perfect target lock. He doesn't ask permission, he doesn't wait, he fires. A missile worth more than a luxury car streaks downward and annihilates a Ukrainian decoy, a cheap throwaway designed exactly for this moment. The explosion erupts in a thunderous blast of fire and shockwaves, useless militarily, but devastating strategically, because suddenly everyone knows there's something under the bridge. Soldiers yell into radios, trucks slam on brakes. The orderly convoy becomes a tangled steel traffic jam right in the center of the kill zone. The element of surprise is gone. The Russians are awake now, confused, terrified, and ready to shoot at anything that moves. The Ukrainian drones have survived their birth into the fight, but now the hunt begins on both sides. What happens next will will prove whether artificial intelligence is the future of warfare, or just another overhyped experiment about to die in the dark.
The Russian missile blast lights up the night like a flare, but the real damage is what follows. Panic spreads through the convoy as the radio network erupts with shouting voices. Soldiers scramble for answers. The convoy stalls into a frozen metal bottleneck, and down below, the drones know they've been exposed. Where a human pilot might panic, hesitate, or make a fatal mistake, the Ukrainian AI reacts with pure, cold logic. Every drone instantly shifts into its emergency protocol. They make a sharp 90-degree turn, not away from the enemy, but sideways. Head on, a radar sees motion clearly, but sideways, the relative speed becomes nearly zero. To the Pantsir's targeting computer, the drones are no longer moving threats. They're debris, bridge clutter, nothing worth tracking. They disappear into the static. But they don't just vanish, they fight back. One drone activates a compact jammer, flooding the radar system with a surge of chaotic high-frequency noise. The lieutenant's radar screen goes from patchy clutter to blinding white snow. He's staring at digital blindness. The drones don't rush their next move. They use the chaos as cover, slipping beneath the steel beams once again. No sound, no signal, just ghosts retreating into the dark. But the victory is temporary, because when you corner a desperate enemy, especially one embarrassed by cheap technology, they reach for their biggest guns. And far above the clouds, a Russian giant is already turning its all-seeing radar toward the bridge. A new hunter has entered the battlefield, one designed to find targets that should be impossible to see. 70 miles away, orbiting high above the clouds, a Russian A-50 mainstay early warning aircraft receives the alert. If the Pantsir truck on the bridge is just a guard with a flashlight, the A-50 is the stadium floodlight operator who sees everything. Its massive radar dishes rotate with cold precision, sweeping the land below. Bridge structure, water noise, radar clutter, none of that matters. When the A-50 looks down, ghosts become visible. The drone's tiny heat signatures glow like embers in a pitch-black room. Inside the blazing lit operations center on board, Russian officers lean forward in disbelief. The enemy isn't in the air, they're under the bridge, where no one expected a fight. Instantly, the A-50 beams targeting data to two Russian systems, the blinded Pantsir on the bridge and a deadly S-400 missile battery, far away but ready to strike. For the first time in the entire mission, the drones are truly hunted. A launch alarm screams inside the Ukrainian operator's command post. On his screen, a red threat indicator begins a countdown, 5 seconds until impact. Mach 12 speed. A missile designed to obliterate fighter jets is now locked on a drone the size of a football. The Russians believe this is the end of the story, but the AI sees another path. The drones have no chance to escape with speed, so instead, they prepare to lie. A hatch on the underside of the lead drone snaps open, and a thin cable unspools, carrying a strange little device no bigger than a beer can. The Russians have no idea yet, but they're about to waste millions of dollars in a single humiliating moment. The kind of mistake that flips a war upside down. The S-400 missile is already slicing through the darkness, a hypersonic killer locked onto a plastic body worth less than a night out in Moscow. Russian operators on the A-50 watch the incoming hit, smiling, confident. But the Ukrainian AI doesn't panic. It executes something far more dangerous. Protocol Omega-7. The tiny device dangling behind the drone, the ALE-50 tow decoy, flickers to life. It begins absorbing the missile's radar signal, then blasting it back 100 times stronger. To the S-400 seeker head, the decoy isn't just a target, it's the best target it has ever seen. A shiny, irresistible lie. The missile abruptly swerves, violently correcting course. In a split second, everything the Russian technicians believed about dominance in the sky becomes a joke. 3, 2, 1. A fireball tears open the night sky. A $3 million missile detonating against nothing but a cheap decoy swinging from a glorified fishing line. The real drones continue forward untouched. The cheers in the Russian control room die instantly, because when your most advanced weapon is fooled that easily, what else are you vulnerable to? The explosion acts like a beacon. Every other Russian defense system turns its sensors upward, searching for the sky for more threats. But that is exactly what Ukraine planned for. Because while Russia is staring into space, the true danger is rising from the shadows beneath the bridge. A single data packet flashes across the Ukrainian operator's screen. Execute. And the ghosts don't hide anymore. They scream upward at full power, electric motors howling as they blast toward the belly of the beast. The time for stealth is over. Now comes the killing blow. In less than a heartbeat, the drones reach the underside of the bridge, each one already locked on the exact structural weak point calculated days earlier. They don't aim for trucks. They aim for the bones holding the entire convoy above the water. The first impact hits like a hammer strike from a god. Shaped charged warheads punch through reinforced concrete as if it were tin foil. One drone after another slams into its target with surgical precision. 11 hits in 1.3 seconds. But instead of detonating on contact, they wait. Exactly 1.1 seconds. Just enough time for the shock waves to trap themselves between the water below and the steel deck above. The space becomes a brutal pressure chamber, amplifying force far beyond anything Russia believed possible. Concrete columns snap like dry branches. Steel tendons rip apart like cheap wire. The bridge doesn't fail, it disintegrates. The road collapses beneath the lead ammunition truck, pitching it downward where its deadly cargo ignites. One blast becomes two, two become 10. The entire center of the convoy, its heart and its firepower, turns into a chain reaction of exploding war supplies. A half-mile stretch of roadway vanishes into a roaring inferno. Vehicles tumble into the churning river. Thousands of Russian troops, the force meant to save a collapsing front, are now stranded, powerless, and out of time. Russia's strategic lifeline? Gone in under 5 minutes. In a secure Ukrainian bunker, the operator leans back in his chair, stunned by how quickly artificial intelligence turned an enemy's strength into their downfall. No fighter jets, no artillery barrages, no massive spending, just 12 silent machines and a simple truth. In the wars of tomorrow, the giant that marches forward without thinking loses to the genius hiding in the shadows. And as dawn rises over the Nipro River, one question echoes across every command center in the world. If $10,000 in drones can erase a superpower strategy overnight, what happens when this technology scales? The age of brute force is dying. The age of intelligent warfare has begun.